Hey, we're back. This is Trevor Crow. The show is Trevor and Friends. And sitting with me is Stephanie Thomas, Secretary of State. I am thrilled to have you here, my dear.
And we're friends.
And we're friends. Oh, my gosh. No, we were campaigning together, went through some gnarly moments, a lot of fun. But you've been doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And a big deal happened. So we have early voting.
Yes.
And in fact, today is day 2 of early voting. Talk to me about how things are going.
Things are going great. We worked out all the kinks last year, the first year we had early voting. So now the biggest challenge is getting turnout. I think in municipal elections, like in presidential, Connecticut, 75 to 80% turnout. In municipals, it drops down anywhere from 10% to like the high, 30%, 33% is the statewide average.
Yeah,
we got to
that's
do
not
better.
good. That is really not good. So everybody out there, it is time to vote in municipal elections. We have early voting, which is super helpful.
Yes.
A couple of my friends who are traveling coming up, one is going to Italy. She's like, I'm voting today. That was yesterday. So it's really great we have this.
I mean, it's a huge reform. So many groups of people have said they've benefited from it. Seniors, people traveling, people who commute, fill in the blank. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., 14 days. And 2 days have 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
My goodness. So wait, Lisa Hannick is, you're talking to our executive director holding our mascot right now, Daisy, her dog. Lisa's got a question. What's up?
Well, so I had put some questions, a request for questions in our email and in our social media, and we did not get any, but I have a couple questions.
Okay.
Ask away.
And one I already know the answer to, but I thought in case you hadn't said it, and maybe I zoned out when you did, but this early voting is on weekends as well, right? Saturdays and Sundays.
Yes. And so let me specify because people still get confused. 40% of our voters used early voting last year. So a lot of people did use it, but a lot didn't. So early voting is in-person voting. Every single town across Connecticut has at least one early voting location. It's usually town hall, but not always. You can go to the Secretary of the State's website to get the list. And it includes 2 full weekends, so 2 Saturdays, 2 Sundays. And then on October 28th and 30th, those are the extended days, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So there is no longer any reason most people cannot find the time to get out and vote.
I feel like that's such a boon for commuters, especially. And
Yes.
just one more question, if you will, Trevor. I'm sorry.
Of course.
This was a question that I personally had. When you vote early, are they counting the votes all along, or do they still wait and count them on?
Excellent question. Here in Connecticut, no matter when you vote, those ballots are not opened until Election Day. So when you vote, it is sealed, sequestered, not dissimilar like what is done with absentee ballots, and then they open it on Election Day and count.
Gotcha.
But much like absentee ballots, the results are segregated. So we will know, for example, how many people have early voted each day, etc.
Interesting. Can you tell, do Democrats, Independents, Republicans vote? Is one party voting or whatever, voting early more than another party?
No, I think people often forget. It's a nationwide trend, but also true in Connecticut. Unaffiliated is the largest voter bloc, more than Democrats are Republicans. So I would say things like early voting, because of what I said, it appeals to everybody.
Yes.
It doesn't advantage one party versus another. What I think has changed over the years, it used to be that only one party talked about it as an option.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it used to be that Democrats, or the thought was Democrats would do early voting, and that's why they're pushing for it. But in fact, it benefits everybody.
100%.
And I do believe every one of us needs to vote. it is each of our responsibility to maintain our democracy, which means that you please must vote. And this early voting is incredibly important. And Stephanie Thomas, our Secretary of State, has explained to us that early voting is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then we have a few days during the weekends, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
No.
Sorry,
Weekends are also 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
All right. What are the long days?
2 days.
2 days.
Tuesday and Thursday before the election.
Tuesday, Thursday before the election.
October 28th and 30th, or 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay, good. So this is no excuses. Everybody can get in there.
Exactly.
There's plenty of time to do this. Now, how are we doing on absentee balloting? Is that still a thing? I know it was big during COVID. Has that dropped?
Yeah, so COVID, we had really high turnout in absentee ballots for the obvious reasons, but the law reverted back to our usual law right after that. So last year I said 40% used early voting, a mere fraction used absentee ballots. But a lot of people are confused because you may recall we had that ballot question last year. So voters, about 60% or just under 60, said yes, we should have what's called no excuse absentee ballots, but there's no enabling law set yet. So nothing has changed with absentee ballots.
Okay.
You still have to meet one of the 6 reasons in order to vote by absentee. So I would expect those numbers to remain fairly small.
That sounds really good. I'm glad that we have the option. And again, back to please everybody vote. Stephanie Thomas, Secretary of State's on the show. I am Trevor Crow. This is Trevor and Friends. And the statistics that's kind of eye-watering is during a presidential, something like 70 to 80% of Connecticut voters actually vote, which
75 to 80%.
75 to 80%, which is excellent relative to the rest of the country. However, it drops precipitously going into municipal and maybe midterm elections.
Yeah, municipal statewide average 33%. The midterms 54%, and this kills me, Trevor. Can I tell you why?
Please, why, Stephanie? We want you to be alive.
Well, there's a few different things. One, it's weird to me that so many people are registered to vote. They know how to vote, where to go. They think it's important enough to turn out. But then they give up. And literally everything that I hear people complain about every day are things decided on the local level. Property taxes, how school funding is spent, noise ordinances, traffic, zoning, parks and rec, law enforcement. All of these things are decisions made by 30% of your town, and in some towns it's 14%. That's abysmal.
That is abysmal. And again, everybody listening to this show right now, your vote matters, and the things that impact you the most right now, right here, is the local elected officials are making big decisions.
Yep.
So truly, truly, please vote, especially, and I'm going to I think Democrats in Greenwich show up 10% even less than in our municipals than Republicans, et cetera. For some reason, everybody sort of thinks that it's all going to be fine, and they just don't bother.
And I'm going to blow your mind with something else, too.
What? Can't wait.
I'm going renegade. No.
Love that.
Well, okay, so voting, by the way, is just part of the story. We live in a representative democracy, right? So it's also our responsibility as citizens to help those elected to represent us know how to represent us. And in every role that I've ever had, it has surprised me how the voting public just seems to think policy happens like magic. I'm like, no policies are written on election day. So voting is like the lowest bar. After the election, you have to be in touch with your elected officials, no matter what party they belong to, yours or the other, and let them know what's on your mind. If you have good ideas, if you think their ideas are bad ideas, that's what it means to have an effective system.
That is for the people, by the people. And
Yes.
in fact, we all just watched with great joy, I did at least, maybe 8 million people show up around the globe for No Kings Rally. I don't know if you attended.
I actually spoke at a No Kings rally, which I wasn't sure I would do because my role, as you know, is literally 100% nonpartisan, and I take that very, very seriously. But then I remembered it's not partisan to be patriotic and to
Exactly.
believe in the rule of law. I took an actual oath, had to raise my hand to the United States Constitution, so it is literally my job to uphold it.
I
So
love
I
that.
spoke about that and the need for us all to be civically engaged.
More so today than I believe in the past 100 years, probably. And Stephanie Thomas, our Secretary of State, is reminding us all of what is really important: is we have a constitution. We do not have a king, and we have to follow the law. And whoever's elected is not a king, and their duty is to follow the law. So voting in your municipal election is even more important today than ever, because your representatives are going to go to, develop whatever has to be done around our town and support education, et cetera. It goes on and on. But I really think that people don't quite connect the really big picture, as in No Kings Rally, to what you actually can do, which is vote. So not being apathetic is truly key in this.
Yeah, and for me, I traveled the state talking. I literally talk to everybody. And what I have found is that the reasons people don't vote are varied. Some are apathetic, they feel like nothing will change. Many more people just don't think their vote is so pivotal, and they don't realize there are dozens of elections in Connecticut every single year that are decided by fewer than 20 votes.
Fewer than 20 votes.
I can't tell you, like the last municipal cycle, there were several decided by less than 5 votes. These are razor thin margins. So, people should realize that every vote does matter. A lot of people don't vote because they don't know what to expect. I hear this from young people. One young woman said, "Do I need to allow 4 hours?" And I'm like, no, like 4 minutes. But
Yes.
because people see television and what happens nationally and they don't know.
So, and that's a wonderful reminder that there are not going to be lines. You're going to be able to walk into your polling place and you'll be able to vote right away. It's a very quick process, but again, an incredibly valuable, important part of this whole story. And whether it's apathy or the idea that your vote doesn't count, it really does. I lost an election by 89 votes. I swear that number is going to be seared.
I know.
Into
I
my
suddenly
brain.
feel better. I think I lost my first election by, what was it, 281 votes or something. Higher margin, but
Still,
equally painful.
Stephanie's point here is especially municipals, because it's such a low turnout, that 5 votes really can make or break
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
I mean, I say this as a joke, but it's not funny. More people voted for the Kid Governor, which is a program for middle schoolers, than voted to elect the mayor of Hartford.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, that's not what Connecticut should
No.
be aiming to do.
No.
And this is a national trend. Like, people
Right.
don't vote, but I hope to reverse all that.
Well, I am really hoping, watching that No Kings rally that was very joyful and positive, that's bringing a greater sense of community, and that as a group, as a population, we really can make change or impact what's happening out there. So maybe, just maybe, fingers crossed that this will impact our municipal elections, that people are getting activated.
I hope people are beginning to understand more that government touches all of us, whether it's local, state, or federal. And what I think these No Kings rallies are pointing out is that people are feeling like they have some agency, and they do. Like, our U.S. Constitution starts, or the preamble, "We the people," for a reason. we are this nation.
Yes, we are the people, and that's what you're electing your officials to do, which is do your will. So remember that, everybody out there, please. We have early voting. We have Stephanie Thomas, Secretary of State of the state of Connecticut, here sitting with us in the studio. We've gotten early voting going. It's going as we speak. I think I will vote right after the show today.
Good. Oh, and I should mention, because I haven't voted yet, because I have charter questions on our ballot, and I haven't read them yet. There are sample ballots available on the Secretary of the State's website, MyVote.CT.gov.
Perfect.
So everyone can know before they go. You can research, you can look everyone up, you can look up any questions and be prepared.
Will you say that again, just so everybody can write it down if they have a second? Where can they go?
It's so easy. MyVote.CT.gov. Sample ballots, early voting locations, voter registration info, all of the above.
MyVote.CT.gov. That's great. And there's all this excellent information there. And it looks like Lisa has another question for us.
It wasn't a question. I just, on that note, I wanted to highlight that there's a website called vote411.org that anybody can go to and look and see what's going to be on your ballot according to your state. And a lot of it, if candidates have submitted information, there'll be information about your candidates too that you can look up. So you don't have to go in not knowing what's going to be.
Yeah, Vote 411, great site. I believe it's run by the League of Women Voters.
It is
nationally. Yeah.
Excellent. They update it regularly. I would always say, yes, go there and go to My Vote, because, like, for example, there was a town in Connecticut that had a ballot error and it had to be corrected just a few days ago. So I don't know how often these external sites get updated.
That's great.
So also My Vote.
So I'm going to pivot a little bit now, because one of the things that very much upset me was the house of a judge in South Carolina was probably firebombed. It exploded. She had pushed back against the Trump administration asking for voter rolls, and she had said, no, we're not going to do that in the state of South Carolina. Now violence has arrived at her house, literally. And have we been pressured to? Have you had that sort of pressure here in Connecticut?
So it's funny. Connecticut. We have been told by the Department of Justice that every state will receive this request. But it's rolling out in different sequences around the country. We have gotten other requests for information, but not yet for the voter rolls. But a lot of people don't realize there are state laws usually against providing certain information. So
hopefully that's will settle the matter. But for me, I think it is very scary. Now, the other concern that I have is what they call the SAVE Act. I don't believe it was actually voted on in the big, beautiful bill.
No.
Thank goodness. Explain this.
Yeah, so there are a few things. So the SAVE Act is a congressional act. It actually passed the House, the last Congress, and again this Congress, but never received a vote in the Senate. Not to be confused with the SAVE program, which is run by USCIS. And it is a program that all secretaries have been asked to send their voter files to run their lists through that program. Many states, including Connecticut, have declined that opportunity for a host of reasons, but not insignificantly. It's still like in beta, and no one has explained fully the privacy around any data they receive, and it's still not working 100% great. But people should be aware many states are sending their data to the SAFE program, and many states are passing laws that are identical to the SAVE Act.
Can you explain to anybody listening on the show what that act does and why I, as a woman, have a great deal of issue with it?
Yeah, it does a lot of things, but the thing that most people are talking about, which I find problematic because, in my opinion, it's prioritizing conspiracy theory above American citizens, meaning the intent of the SAVE Act and also the SAFE program, what is said is that it will eliminate non-citizens from voting. But we know, like here in Connecticut, for example, over the past 50 years, there have been 9 cases of immigrants or non-citizens voting or registering, and I believe 1 or 2 of those were to have voted, maybe 1, over 50 years. Many states have done exhaustive searches of their entire voter file. This has been studied for years because it's been discussed for decades. And like the average is 1 vote per couple of million votes over like many years have been proven to be non-citizens. But what the SAVE Act is requiring is that every American prove their citizenship by presenting, and depending on the document, some of the proposals would not even allow you to use your birth certificate to prove your citizenship. Real ID, no, that would not be accepted. So most are saying you have to present your passport. In some versions, you could use your birth certificate, but not only to register, but also to make any change. So let's play that out in Connecticut. People don't realize there's only 17 towns in Connecticut that have full-time registrars of voters. In some,
know that.
in some towns, like they work 1 or 2 hours a week or a month even. So imagine you need to register. Like, where are you going? Like, you have to fit in that 1 hour. Then, as we saw in New Hampshire, who has a statewide law that's similar, there were people who showed up to vote. Their birth certificate had their birth name. Their other ID had their married name. So they were sent home to get their marriage license. But there was one woman, I remember reading about this. She had to go back 3 times because she had been married several times. And like her IDs had different last names. And what like the media was saying at the time, like they knew of about 50 problems, but they don't know the people who never bothered to go back. So that is what I mean by your like disenfranchising American citizens for a conspiracy theory, because in every state who has done this, we know that more Americans have been disenfranchised than non-citizens voting. So it's a math problem.
I like that. It's a math problem. And by the way, I would be adversely affected. I've changed my name a few times. So it's a really tough situation. I'd have to show up with my birth certificate and whatever. It would go on and on. But ultimately, as Secretary of State and protecting our voter rolls and making sure that people who can vote do vote, do you have a message for everybody out there today that we work hard for this, right?
Yeah.
You work hard for this.
Yeah, I mean, I would say elections are very secure. It does not mean they are error-free because human beings run them and human beings are voters, right? So sometimes election workers make mistakes. That is very different than deliberate fraud. Sometimes voters make mistakes. That's also different than fraud. The reason why you often see these differences in numbers, like I just explained, like non-citizens registered versus voting, because they registered because someone misexplained something, but then they never vote because they know it's not allowed. So I always tell people, sign up to be a poll worker.
I love that.
And you will very soon see all the checks and balances in place. Stop reading the national news and think it applies. Elections are run very differently state by state. But the national news, I think, kind of conflates a lot of issues and people get confused.
Absolutely.
Non-citizen voting in Connecticut, very different than Arizona, who has been working on this for 30 years and has very different laws in place.
Interesting.
So, like, there are differences. In Alaska, you can fax in your ballot because guess what? November in Alaska is different than November in Florida. Like, every state in North Dakota, you don't even have to register to vote. You just show up and vote. Every state has very different laws. So, listening to national news is not a way to figure out how your election system works.
So do your research, everybody, and vote. And the best way to get the information is through MyVote.CT.gov.
You got it.
And this is important. This is your responsibility as a citizen of the United States of America. And I still believe one of the greatest countries ever, and that you have this power to impact your local government is incredibly important. So, Stephanie, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for your service to the state and all of us voters out there.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Any last word for voters? Any last kind of
get out there and vote and tell others. It's so important.
So important. Give somebody a ride. Just help out. All right, everybody. You have a great week. It's a beautiful day out there. This is Trevor Crow. The show is Trevor and Friends, brought to you by Trevor Crow. That's my business. And again, a big thank you to Stephanie Thomas, Secretary of our state. And be sure to vote. Early voting polls are open now. Have a great week. Bye.